Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Considering that the last episode is more of an intro more than anything, I'm going to skip any recap and really just get started back into the action. In this case, I'm starting off by actually going back to one of the more complete frames and just touching up a few bits here. The foot that you currently see me adjusting right now, as I'm moving the panel out of the way, I had to adjust because in retrospect, when I compared it to the frames before it actually kind of stretched a bit around the calf there, so in order to, not calf, the ankle there, so it was best to just kind of fix this stuff up ahead of time if you already know there's something wrong, so that since I'd be referring to it in later parts of the animation anyway, and just try to keep everything general scale there, I would have come back only realize, hey, from this frame onward, I've been drawing this leg too long, or I've been cutting off some other part and messing with the proportions. Well, now that I think about it even further, since this character is kind of a rubbery person to begin with, kind of a more stretch and squash would probably be acceptable here, but since I didn't actually intend it for that specific purpose, we're just keeping everything generally in line until I actually need to do a real stretching squash here. Yeah, so pretty much the best way to handle it is just to fix things up ahead of time so that as I'm comparing things later down the line, what I'm comparing it to is an accurate and in scale thing, as opposed to me finding out later as like Liza was saying that, oh, I screwed the pooch here earlier and now I need to fix everything after that point to get everything back to the right size. With that out of the way, now I'm beginning to start some rudimentary shading onto the axe hand here, which pretty much after talking a little bit over with the person behind this character, Diebot, otherwise known as HighVault/07, on DeviantArt, which I've probably mentioned once or twice. I'm probably going to be messing around with the axe hand later on for the actual finished piece, although for the purposes of this particular animation, kind of already gone so far with the axe hand, so let's finish up with the axe hand, and maybe I kind of do an extra video at the end where I change it into whatever the final form will be. Kind of some ideas that have been given to me was maybe replacing with a large shoe or something like that, which I would probably have done if it wasn't for the fact that I already have a large boot, kind of circa Battletoads series, kind of worked in for a different move somewhere else. A racket also came into mind at some point, pretty much a tennis racket, which I think that might be what I end up doing for this one later on. And who knows, maybe I'll think of another interesting idea to kind of toss in there. Since, like I was saying, this move was basically kind of set up as a launcher attack for the what will be the actual coded character later on. And just to skip back to what I'm actually showing here, it's only fitting somehow that on top of fixing the back, since for some reason when I was working on this earlier, the only thing that was kind of concrete nailed out was sketched out lines for her bottom, so it only makes sense that, yeah, it seems to be a major enough landmark, for lack of a better term, for this character, that yeah, I might as well just get that rendered out and back into proper scale, and then I'll fix the rest of it as I go along. If you're going to explain what's going on right now, I'm pretty much taking the opportunity to mess around with the detailing on the back. I'm adding in at least most of the important muscular groups at this point, and now I'm beginning to work out the general lines of how the chest should be connecting to the rest of the body so it doesn't feel disconnected. At this point, I'm just going to mention in advance, I'm kind of working out the rib cage area here, along with just where the hips meet the leg itself, although I can tell right now I'm definitely going back in order to adjust the rib cage a bit more, because she actually did get a bit thicker in this particular frame, so I'm going to need to be adjusting that as I'm going along. But before I end up getting to that, which I believe I'm doing on the later half of this particular video, this really sped up video, I'm just kind of adding some details into the face because it was just a really vague kind of blotted out line there. I'm drawing in the important landmarks, kind of worked out the nose, worked out where the mouth should be, put some ears just so I can get a general idea of how big the skull should be underneath that giant massive hair that she has there. Pretty much looks like I'm okay with that for the moment being, so I'm starting to fix up the back leg now. Now the frame is looking, at least the body part of the frame is looking much more complete. As you probably noticed somewhere down the line, I erased the arm in the background there just because the general positioning while it was okay just for the rough frame, it wouldn't be exactly perfectly fitting for the final one. Her elbow wouldn't be sticking all the way back like it was in the earlier frames. Now that she's leaning back quite a bit more herself at this point, so it would probably be a lot more straightforward, or at least closer to a right angle, which is what I'll be doing at a later part here. And right now I'm just kind of rendering in, just adding some details to the, well, for lack of a term, the front leg here, which would be her right leg, just to get some rudimentary lighting applied there. Now adding details to the foot, kind of fixing up the toes a bit more. I believe I'll be fixing up the ankle maybe a bit more there, or if I don't do it in this particular video, I can't recall off the top of my head. I will definitely be going back to it just that a bit more in the last set here, where I finish polishing this things up. While I'm already got the blue colors highlighted, I'm now fixing up a bit of the highlights to the kind of I would say chest part or chest component, but technically, since this is all part of the same character's, not like related to it, this is how the character's color scheme works out. I'm not quite sure what to refer to it as. Well, I attempt to figure that out for later. At this point, I'm actually working. I moved to the front layer, which is where the arm is at this point, the arm and the axe hand, and getting that into place. I'm now kind of working back and forth between the arm hand and the middle part. It looks like, yes, this is the part where I'm beginning to adjust the torso a bit more in order to kind of trim the fat a bit. And now that I've done that, I'm now beginning to just round off the arm, add the general highlighting, kind of work out the curve there. The arm, you probably notice, it really is curved because it's implied that the momentum of the axe hand is enough to kind of bend the whole arm backwards, which is something I could get away with doing in with this particular character, that if I were to do this, a proper one is like, what are you doing? You broke her arm. But since it's basically all rubber anyway, it's kind of a jello thing, it's like, nah, it actually works still. I'll frequently during the process, I kind of go between back and forth the frame just to kind of figure out where do I want to take this frame next. In this case, with the back and forth, I decided I actually should be moving her neck a little further back. It was a little too forward leaning, which, considering how the rest of the momentum of the body was going, didn't actually make perfect sense. Now that I probably have the head in just about the area I want it, I'm starting to clean up the hair a bit, starting off with the bangs there, which, in case I didn't mention in the earlier video, I'm pretty sure I did though. This hair design is based off an older design of the character when Dipod was working on some more preliminary sprites, and his more current sprites actually had it with a kind of a new, more simplified haircut to some extent, where there are no bangs on the side there anymore. It's now pretty much one kind of central clump up front and then the large volume of hair in the back, which, in case anyone has been looking at my DA page, I had a little bit of fun on that when I realized, that large clump in the front actually looks familiar to me somewhere. And then it kind of clicked. It's like, you know what? If you kind of messed around with it a bit, it actually looks a bit like the front part of the hair for Velma Dinkley from the Scooby-Doo series. So I worked out a quick little sketch kind of based on that idea, which I stuck into the kind of scrapbook section of my DA page, which you can feel free, it's up there to take a look, although I should warn you, there's some stuff in there that is not necessarily safe for work. So if you don't look at it at work if you happen to be there. Okay, now, actually getting back to the video itself, what's going on here. Now that I've kind of worked out what was going on underneath there, now I went back to the top layer, disabled the middle layer where the main body is, and I'm starting to slowly draw the large clump of hair that's going on there. In this case, I'm drawing what's directly connected to the backmost portion that's connected to the skull directly there, and I'm kind of doing the highlight and slight bit of the mid-tone there, just working back and forth to figure out, okay, with the distance that she's bringing the axe hand back, the hair should swing forward about X amount, and slowly but surely I'm building up the giant mask going now to the shadowed part, and slowly working that out there. Let's see. At this point, I'm pretty happy with how this hair is swinging there. In the next few frames, with the hair will be retreating back to a more neutral spot. But at this point, the video, let's see. Yeah, I've just realized at this point that, okay, I had actually way too much highlights going on there, so I actually need to take the mid-tone there, or kind of the second mid-tone, and start working things back down so there won't be as much highlights going on there. It was much too bright before. And slowly but surely now I'm doing just that. As this particular video is coming to a close very shortly, just to give you a quick gist, I'm going to be kind of filling in the shading on that back leg there. I'm going to take a shortcut actually, since I realized the foot position is just about the same from the previous frame, and actual copy the foot over. For the most part, what's going to be coming up in the very next video in this little subset here is that I'm going to work on the two last frames that are going on there, which the very next one is effectively the same thing but leaning back forward, and the frame before that, after that, is the one that requires a little more editing, and then I will actually be finishing the transition back to state 0, or the idle stance. That'll be hopefully that'll be coming in the next day or so, so please tune in next time, and I'll see you all later.